Shooby-dooby-doo.
Can we call him Papa Chris like they do on the podcast?
It's okay by you.
I know. We're good. All right, we are here. Let's go ahead and come to order. I want to welcome everybody to the March edition of the City of St. Charles School District meeting. So good to see everybody. Last time, I think we had some weather-related issues, so we couldn't meet in person, but I'm glad we can meet in person today. I want to welcome everybody on the interwebs as well. And just first, because we talked about it last month, but I want to thank everybody, thank all the students for all the work that you put in for these cards. Really appreciate it. I wanted to point out two that I saw as I was looking toward them. One of them, it says, "Just wanted to brighten your day." Dear Board of Education member, thank you for all of your hard work. Thank you for taking time out of your life to make our education better. We appreciate your dedication to our school district. Sincerely, Henry, or as he says, Hen is his nickname. So, Henry, you brightened our days. And then another interesting one from a young student named Wyatt. I will keep the last name not public. This one also brightened my day in another way. It says, thank you for making good, sometimes bad decisions for our school, and thank you for your hard work for the school. So, Wyatt, I appreciate your candor.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. All right. So if we can, please, can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we will move as we always do to the Superintendent Comments. Dr. Seifert.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Keene. Welcome to tonight's Board Education meeting. Before I jump into my comments and some of the updates, I do want to recognize the tragedy that we had at St. Charles West last week. We lost one of our beloved students, and our continued thoughts and prayers are with the family and the entire St. Charles West community. And as I always like to say, united we stand together in St. Charles West, so we are with you. Well, we are 1 week from spring break. Can you believe it? Where 2 weeks ago, we didn't think we were even coming back to school because of snow. We are 1 week from spring break, and we continue to go strong in all that we do, and I'm just so proud of all the effort of our staff and our students continue to do in the classroom, in person and virtually. And then you've already mentioned all the great gifts and the cards, but I also wanted to say thank you to our Board of Education. Tonight we are celebrating once again because we didn't really get to do it in person last month, but thank you to our school board. We did have school board appreciation last month, but a special thank you. You guys truly, you are the best, and I thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your guidance, and I would dare to say thank you for your friendship. Can I say that, Dr. Malone?
Yes, you can.
Okay, thank you. To put you on the spot, but the leadership you provide, the guidance you provide, I just really appreciate it. And again, I say a lot of cliche things. You all are SCSD essential, so thank you. And I hope you're enjoying all the cards and things. And again, a thank you to Mrs. Kelly Pellin. I can't get her name out, but she sets all this up for you. So Kelly, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly. Clap for Kelly. We didn't really clap for you all, but we're going to clap for Kelly. That's all right. Okay, Kelly does everything. We have a state champion. St. Charles High, girls wrestler, first one ever. Sabrina King, you can clap for that. We do have a couple wrestlers tonight that are wrestling on the boys' side, so we're looking forward to seeing what they're doing as well. But congratulations to Miss King. And that's St. Charles High girls wrestling program. I've mentioned them a few times. They're a special group, so congratulations, and that's awesome. We also have the musical Annie going on right now at St. Charles High, so a lot going on over there. That's exciting. And please feel free to go and see. I think, well, obviously there's one tonight, so you can't go tonight, but maybe you can get there this weekend, so it should be awesome. I know Dr. Torn was taking her girls tomorrow night. That's awesome. So, Proposition SCSD, strong schools, strong community update. We are really excited about getting more information out to our community. So continue to look out for that information about our Prop SCSD. Our election is April 6th. We also have 2 important Board of Education positions open with 5 candidates, and we're looking forward to April with that. Our latest podcast with Papa Chris in the back, always you can tell, always a crowd favorite. Dr. Lewis and then Josh Schaefer, our Director of Maintenance. We got together last week and talked Prop SCSD, so hopefully you can check that out. I like to say knock on wood, but I'm happy to report that our overall COVID numbers are dropping still. We had a couple rises here, a couple days, but for the most part they're still low, so we're excited about that. And we did send some information out today to our staff, and our families will get the letter either tonight or tomorrow on a slight change in what the health director, health department has done to align to the CDC guidelines for exposed quarantine. And we also are working hard. Ms. Julie McClard is leading the way of setting up a pod for our teachers to get vaccinated. That is something we're working extremely hard on with our health department as well. And a lot of information went out today to our staff of not only the work that we're doing to make sure that we have a pod, which is a point of distribution of getting the shots here in the county or in our school district, but also there's other links that they can get on and get the vaccine as well. So. Tomorrow is QT Day in the city of St. Charles School District, so we love St. Charles. Mark Sigma, who runs that group and helps with that group, said, hey, I got another crazy idea to just brighten the day of the staff. I said, what is it? He goes, I'm going to bring a QT drink to every staff member. And I said, well, how are you going to do that? He goes, watch. And sure enough, I'm signed up, you all. I'm getting a Diet Coke tomorrow. I can't wait. So QT Day for every staff member tomorrow. That's exciting. And I already talked about, I have listed here some more highlights of the quarantine length change, but I think I'm going to save that. And for the most part, just the highlights I should say are, if somebody is completely symptom-free, instead of a 14-day quarantine for having an exposure to COVID, it actually can go down to 10 days, and then it actually can go down to 7 days if you have a negative test as well. And all that information has gone out to our staff. So just make sure that we have that highlights. And then, as always, want to continue to encourage and thank the Board of Education, staff, students, parents, and community members for all the continued work, support, and dedication to the SCSD. I keep saying this, we have been in school full-time since August. And we continue to go. Here comes spring break, and before you know, April, May. We want to continue to watch our social distance. I'm going to put my mask on here in just a second. We want to continue to stay masked up. Continue to work together, and united we stay strong, and we're going to get through this year and finish up a great school year. Thank you, Mr. Keene.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Seifert. Appreciate it. Item 3.04, board communications.
You know, Josh, I don't have anything specific, but I just think I, too, want to say thank you for all the notes, the wonderful plaque, the certificates, and I think I can speak for the board when we all say we very much appreciate it. So thank you. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. I will say I got a letter. I was asked to be a part of the Education Plus focus group or committee that was speaking about board experience to board candidates. So it was all done through Zoom. Usually it's face-to-face, but I was one of there's one other board president and then another board secretary, I think, and we all got to talk about just our experiences and kind of give some words of wisdom. So got a nice thank you card from Education Plus. So.
Mr. Keene, how'd you get selected for that?
Well, it's funny. I was kind of voluntold by my superintendent.
Oh.
I am muted. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Sorry. So, if you didn't hear me, I got a thank you note. So, thank you. I won't go through the whole story again. Thank you, Chris. All right, item 3.05, audience comments. I have not seen any yellow cards. I think we're good. That leads us to 3.06. May I have a motion to amend or adopt the agenda, please?
I move we adopt the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 4.01, approval of consent agenda. For efficiency, the school board uses a consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda are routine in nature or among the many decisions that the board has already determined are in the domain of the administration. May I have a motion, please?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I ask a question now about that? I'm curious, Dr. Brazil, who does these contracts? Are they standard forms, or do we go to a lawyer every time, or? Pardon? Who handles these contracts that we have, and like, well, for example, when Julie was talking about, all these contracts for students and so on, who makes up those contracts?
So we have a mix of sources. Some contracts that we use are boilerplate templates that come from MSBA or from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Like, for instance, you hear from Shirley about food service. Our contract with Chartwells is DESI generated, and we have to use that. In other cases, we utilize a vendor's contract, but then have one of our attorneys review it to make sure that our interests are recognized in that contract. And then other times we may ask one of our attorneys to draft the contract. But there's not a uniform process, just that we do try to make sure if we didn't draft it, that we had someone review it on our behalf.
Okay.
We review all our contracts either with our attorneys or our attorneys draft them for us.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I like to be
If we could
sorry.
hear ourselves up there, then we'd
Right.
do a better job. All right. Item 6.01, food services. Are you introducing our guest of honor?
Yes, so, so I am going to ask our Chartwells Food Service Director, Shirley Derby, to come and share a presentation with you this evening. Shirley, as you all are aware, works for our food service management company, Chartwells, but she is presenting the program review which is our program. So the program still belongs to us, even though we employ Chartwells to run it for us. And I also want to introduce her companion this evening, Alicia Askew. Alicia is Shirley's regional director from Chartwells. So thank you for coming this evening. Yep. Go ahead, Shirley. We don't really know whether anything's on anymore.
Yeah.
So is it, the way it's set up, it's not an actual slide, so it's just kind of like go to that and I'll move to the next slide. Oh, just do that?
Yeah, you don't need that.
Okay. So, well, thank you for allowing me to come tonight. Sorry, I don't like to do that. Okay, so we are very, very proud to be here and be here for 36 years. That's amazing, amazing partnership. Your understanding, wait, it's really hard to talk with the mask on, isn't it? It kind of takes your breath away.
Shirley, I should, for the benefit of the board and anybody listening, I should point out that you have been our partners for 36 years, but we are required to bid every 5th year, so that even in my time as your assistant superintendent, we've bid the contract twice. And Chartwells has always been very competitive and has managed to keep that business. So that speaks well of our relationship, but also of their business sense on our behalf.
Yes, thank you for that. Our mission for your school district here, our school district, is to provide the most healthy, delicious, and nutritious food to the students of the district. And the way that we do that for you guys, here's some of our goals and objectives. We provide healthy, delicious, nutritious food. We offer the highest quality food options at the lowest price point. We are welcoming, responsive, and speedy during our daily service. We are supportive of our families and students throughout the school year, as well as the summer months. And then tasty food that is appetizing, nutritious, and filling. And what you'll see here is just a couple pictures. You can probably see them better there. But those are just a couple pictures at St. Charles West when we were running our student choice program, which I'll mention here in just a second too. So simply put, we are serving up happy and healthy. And so here we have Stephanie Conway doing a little Dr. Seuss meal with the green eggs and ham. This was prior to COVID. This was last year. And this year you see Linda Copeland and Donna Homnick at St. Charles West serving up meals where we have to serve the students. So, and just some of our accomplishments. Wow, I was just blown away when I start reviewing back over the last year and a half or two. It's just amazing everything that's happened. One of our great accomplishments is just safety in general for the kids. So our allergy protocol is in full force. We have NutriSlice digital signage at the secondary schools, basically TVs with the rolling menu on them, which is really cool. Mood Boost, which I should have wore one of the shirts today. They're really cool. So this is our elementary program that relates behavior to food. And so what we do is we go out to the school, and we haven't been able to do this since COVID because it causes a stir because the kids love it. We set up a table, a little booth, and we have samples. And so there might be different foods that cause you to be alert, smart, happy, confident, and strong. And so what we do is we relate those emotions and that behavior back to those food items. And we have stickers and keychains, things that the kids think are really fun, so it gets them engaged into the program. So that's really an awesome, awesome program. I think is very relevant and wonderful. Student Choice is a secondary program, and this program is really neat for the older kiddos because it gives them a chance to vote. So I'll explain that a little bit more here in a second. And then we've been doing district nutrition classes. Our chef will do those like twice a year, and that is for the district staff for your wellness program here. And Lincoln was the only school prior to 18 that we hadn't got updated because we were possibly going to renovate the kitchen. So that got finished up, and it looks really cute. It's painted really cute, has really nice signage. And then we're always developing the menu based on student favorites. Fresh and local produce. We work very closely with our vendor, Old Time Produce, and there is fresh and local produce that we offer all year. We have invested, when we make money in our program, it goes back to the program. And so a lot of it goes back to equipment. So we've got new equipment at Harris Monroe, Null, Hardin High, and West. That's just the last year and a half. Dishwashers, ovens, 2 warmers, a freezer, and a slicer. We have a wonderful partnership with Lewis & Clark. And it's with their, I think it's the Retail Applied Science class. And these students come and work in the kitchens right alongside of us. They're wonderful. We teach them culinary skills, and they help us. So it's a beautiful partnership. Also, as I've had a chef in our district, I think, for the past 6 or 8 years, I can't remember exactly, but we've done really well with increasing our batch cooking, which is instead of just cooking all the food before lunch, which I've been doing this for so long, that used to happen, but now we cook so much, and then we cook so much more as the kids come in shifts, and boom, then it happened. You see here this picture, this is Becky Love and Donna Roth with our bags. Yes, it wasn't beautiful, but it was, a crazy situation that we rolled into just like everybody else. So now I have here accomplishments surviving COVID. And we transitioned from in-person and created a bulk meal program in 2 days. I mean, it was amazing. The teamwork it took, the staff, everybody jumped in. And we immediately moved from our National School Lunch and Breakfast program to a Seamless Summer program, and then we had to deal with all the waivers. And just recently, they came out with another extension to possibly go through, I think, September of next year. We adopted the new safety protocols related to COVID, mask wearing, disinfecting, And I'm sure that you can relate. It was difficult and challenging, the whole mask thing and disinfecting. We communicated with parents immediately, hey, the meals are free. We sent out communication. We've had ongoing communication going out to the parents. Ensuring team safety. Chartwells, I mean, I wish I could have brought more stuff. I have so many things on how the company really came under this, and they created all this new signage with what to do, daily checklists, taking temperatures, social distancing. We have stickers so that the kids could stand so far apart in the lunch line. So it was front of the house, back of the house to help us to remember to stay safe, because none of this was normal. And then one thing I think that's important that sometimes missed is just ongoing encouragement for our team, having a positive can-do attitude. People were scared, you know, and so it's just the whole time just keeping a positive attitude, but listening to concerns and being real with them, and then adjusting to new staffing that's available. You know, I lost probably 10, 12 people right away that just said, I can't work in this type of situation now. My whole team has worked in the schools almost all year, which is fine and it's great, but it's different. You know, it's challenging because you're like, okay, this is you know, we've got to get more people hired. And so Alicia has really helped me out, and Chartwells came out with some really cool social media signage, and I've already had, I don't know, 4 or 5 hits. So really, sometimes you just got to ask, say, hey, I need help. You know, so we're getting the help that we need. We've updated job descriptions and duties. We created a virtual meal program in August to be able to help the students that are learning virtually. We adjusted serving models. We have some additional grab-and-go stations. We've consolidated food stations. And then we adjusted how we serve the food. So everything is either served or it's fully wrapped. We replaced bulk condiments with packets, wrapped utensils. We had to adjust serving times and lunch shifts. We adjusted menu offerings to increase the overall speed of service. We worked closely with Chartwells and Compass Group and Cisco to make sure that we could get all the items that we needed for lunch, because I'm sure you noticed out in the stores, the variety isn't there. Things are missing. You didn't have the same amount. That's what we were dealing with. So thankfully we had, you know, Chartwells fighting for us to make sure that we had our products. We also eliminated the pin pads, and we added barcode scanners so we can minimize contact. And then just recently I did a wage comparison study and updated our wage scale so that we have more competitive wages for our current staff and for the staff we're hiring.
So one of the things you may be aware of, Board, is the federal minimum wage hasn't gone up in many, many years. But the Missouri minimum wage has an automatic trigger, and so it has kept up with inflation over time. And so the Missouri minimum wage as of January 1 is $10.30. And that has really compacted the Chartwells wage scale. And so that's what Shirley's referring to. She's done quite a bit of work to make sure that those folks who have been with us a long time do get rewarded, and that they don't just get overwhelmed by the minimum wage. Because we know also that she's competing with lots of other establishments where people could be working.
Thank you, sir. And then just some numbers for you. Typically, we run at about a 39% free and reduced rate. And right now, our numbers were only 29% free and reduced. And I think you'll understand that because all the students are getting free meals, we have families that haven't turned in free and reduced meal applications. So if you happen to be listening, that would be wonderful if you could turn in a free and reduced meal application, because it helps other funding for the district just by you qualifying. I'm glad that we're at 29%, considering nobody had to turn one in. Thank you for all of those people that did. And then I'm sure next year, that's another social media piece that Alicia provided for me to put out there that Chris so nicely put on our post on our website to ask them to post to fill out an application. But then this is a really neat thing. Our meals, our average daily participation, we're only down 3% compared to last year. When you think about we were virtual almost 35% for a while. Now I think 20%. I mean, think about it. That's to enrollment. So considering families were afraid, oh no, we could get it from the food, and all of that, it's astounding. And then you look at how we're doing financially. We're doing great. So any money that's made here goes back to the employees through their wages, the benefits, the equipment, which is very expensive. And so all the money is put back to the program. I speak with and get advice from my manager, and we have culinary people, I have training people, and we have our marketing people to help us to design the kitchens and help us to pick out pieces of equipment. And I always talk to Charles. He has a vast amount of wisdom with that, and with our maintenance director.
So one of the things, board, before we go on to that next slide, Chris, if you can back up there, you'll see last year that you'll see a gain in the program of just short of $103,000. That was our first year and the guarantee year of this 5-year cycle we're in with Chartwells. And so Chartwells had initially guaranteed us a gain last year of $265,000. But when COVID hit, we sat down, Shirley and her boss at the time, prior to Alicia, and we actually agreed to restructure how we figured that that guarantee, because obviously they weren't serving meals, and what we were serving was giving it away free at Jefferson and Hardin. And so that $102,000 that we made last year was actually was just a little short of what we figured. So Chartwells did actually write us a check for a little over $4,500 to meet their guarantee on the revised basis. And so that was one of the things that, if you remember, I said, we wanted to make sure that we held Chartwells to that guarantee. So we did not hold them to $265,000, but we did adjust on a pandemic basis to hold them to a guarantee for the days that they did actually provide service last school year. And so this year is actually really on target. It's probably actually a little above where we have been as far as gain in any given year. And Shirley alluded to it earlier, but anything, the food service program works as a proprietary account, so it's supposed to not lose money. We're not trying to make money, but we're trying to not lose money. And so anything that we gain every year goes back into our cafeterias and kitchens and is held in that account. We can't move it out and use it for any other purposes. So go ahead, Shirley, I'm sure.
And so our future, we're conquering COVID. Yes, we are. So we are going to meet and exceed government regulations. We're going to continue to educate and train our team, myself included. We're going to continue with the virtual meal program as long as one is offered here. And we're going to update the Jefferson freezer to update that, because it's like a puzzle every time trying to get things organized for our virtual meal program. And my team has been amazing at doing it, but that's really going to be a huge help. And then we're all going to get Fair Check allergy certified, all of our team members. I was certified, I think, 2 years ago. It's basically a certified allergy program. And so I have more information if you guys would like to know more about that. It's based on evidence-based science. And then we're going to do a refresh. Mood Boost, Student Choice, Discovery Kitchens, that stuff's going to come back. That's not gone forever. We haven't been able to do it because it draws a crowd, when we do that. But we're going to try to come up with some ways to do it maybe behind the line and still make it fun. So that will be coming. And then the food committees and the surveys, I got to be honest, till I started putting this together, I'm like, oh my God, the food committees. With everything else going on, I mean, I'm not going to lie. So that's back on my plate now. It's something because we can do that virtually. I can get that set up. I just, honestly, with everything else that was going on, I didn't think about it. So, but we're going to get back on it because that's something that we need to be doing. We're going to evaluate all the schools. We have a lot of new marketing packages that we got to stay relevant with that. Kids, you know, the environment that you're in, you either feel fresh and feel like it's, this is a really nice environment, or like, nobody cares. Well, we care, and we want them to know that. So when they come in our kitchens, it looks nice and really, really good for them. And then I've been talking about the social media focus. We're definitely working on that. And there's some virtual discovery kitchens where our chefs have videos and do the cooking just like you see on TV. So we're going to be starting to roll out with some of those. And then we're going to continue to serve up happy and healthy while we're maintaining a financially successful program. And we're going to utilize our new, I hope this doesn't fly off, Cheers program. And this is how we're going to recognize our team. So here we go. So Chartwells Cheers team member recognition. Every great recipe has great ingredients, and every great program has a great team. Cheers, cheers, cheers. And Chartwells is the bowl that holds the recipe to our success. Our team, they masked up, they showed up, and they bagged up. All of our team members this year are going to be recognized. There's no way I could pick out just a few. They were all phenomenal, and they're all going to get a pen, a certificate, and a little thank you on their paychecks, and they sincerely deserve it. And I mean, I crammed a lot of information in here at a really short time, but it really is, we love the kids here. We want to take care of them. We love to feed kids, and I love to feed people. We just, you know, that's what we do, and we're very passionate about it. And I, open door policy, anybody has questions about anything, I'm always here to answer, to help, to do whatever you guys need from us. And you have all, I would say, Verizon behind me to help me to do whatever we need as a district.
So one of the things that, just very quickly, Marita, and I saw your hand there, the reasons that I really appreciate having Chartwells in the house, and more generally, why I really am a proponent of outsourcing food service, are we really get, Shirley gets a lot of support from her company, that if we were self-operated, we would have support kind of stopping with the director. And so she gets financial assistance, she gets marketing assistance, she gets dietary and culinary assistance from the company. And then really we're transferring a lot of risk for compliance with regulations for how the program gets administered, as well as food safety and allergens. And so that's really made me a proponent of what Shirley does and the food service management companies in general do for districts. And so and believe it or not, that was Shirley's short version of this presentation. It was about 10 slides longer, and we helped her chop it down a little. So Marita, go ahead.
Thank you.
So, first of all, I compliment you on having to make that switch so quickly because of COVID-19. And I particularly like, you know, how we fed everybody, you know. So I really appreciate that. Every other year, my question keeps coming up, what are we doing? Of course, I realize this year is different. What are we doing to save waste of food? That still is a concern for me.
I tell you what,
In the microphone, if you can, Shirley.
Oh, sorry. The funny thing is all of my people don't like to waste anything. They work really hard at cooking every such a food, putting it together. And actually with COVID, with everything wrapped, I mean, you know, you actually save food with doing some of it that way because, you know, you just save food doing it that way because the food doesn't, there's no risk, the food doesn't get touched. But we have a waste not program. It's a really neat program where we have these buckets in the kitchens, and then any waste that you have left, you measure it in different ways as far as like the tops of tomatoes that you don't use, that's a certain kind of waste. Overproduction is a certain kind of waste, and then like if you let something expire or something like that. So you measure all that, and then it goes into a computer system, and then I see it, it goes up to corporate. So there is that, but this all happened, yeah, tracking the food, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, yeah, that, you know.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't want to lose sight of that because I
Right.
think it still is a concern, and when we get back to normal, it will definitely be a concern.
And that's a very, very valid point, Marita. And I think,
Yes.
you know, we always, Shirley and I really do talk about that, but it's always a balance between food waste and food safety. And so
Right.
I expect her before anything to make sure the food is safe and that we're not going to make the news somehow because we have, you know, fed something or we've allowed somebody to take something that wasn't appropriate. But you're right, I mean, that's always something we watch to try and make sure that the things on the menu, and this Shirley's really good at this too, and she gets a lot of help from Chartwells as well on making sure that the things we offer are things that students will actually eat.
Right.
It doesn't always work that way, but we are constantly looking and reassessing those menus.
Right. And back in the day, you used to, whatever you had left, you sent it to a food pantry, and you don't do that because of, legal things. But the hard thing is, like, that last kid in line should get every option that very first kid in line got. And we work really hard to make that happen. And that's part of the reason why you do have some of it, because it's great at the elementary school because we get food counts from teachers, and we really appreciate, and that really does help. But at the secondaries, it's a little bit more challenging to make that happen. But my people are good. I mean, they're real good. So we use production records, so we know exactly how much to prepare for the most part. And so we look at past production records, so we make estimates on how much to cook based on what we've done in the past. So really, I mean, they're pretty good with it, but there's still going to be some things that do get thrown away. What was that thing that Michelle was saying they was doing at Confluence? I'm trying to think of the one she talked about with food waste at her school.
So, it actually, this month, to make cauliflower rice. So it's a lot of learning opportunities that we have, as well as cutting down on the overall waste. So definitely something that we're focusing on, and very interesting that you bring that question up, because that's something that starts for us next month.
Okay.
So it's going to be fantastic. And then to kind of add on to that, there's different programs, and I don't know if Shirley's going to get involved in this or not, but ordering some worms to do worm composting. I mean, we've got all types of ideas out there, so it's a lot of fun stuff that
No,
we can
she's
offer.
not.
No worms. Oh,
Not for a little while anyway.
shot down. Shot down.
Well, I want to thank you that your food is delicious and nutritious. It makes me feel ambitious.
Oh, I like that. Hey, we might have to steal that.
Whoa!
Oh my goodness.
Ramen!
You better sit down now.
The poet that we never knew was among us.
As you
I'm impressed.
say that, I just want to say this. It is amazing what this staff has done, especially this year. And it starts at the top. And we've said this before, we were going through the whole process of getting Chartwells back in as a partner. It starts with our leadership, and I just want to let you know, we have a great manager here. And Shirley does
a great job.
And Charles always says great things about her too, but I just want to make sure, like, I don't ever worry about her. And you talk about what our staff did during the pandemic. I try to get out almost every day just to be a part of it and see it. I mean, they faithfully showed up in the rain. So it didn't matter what it was.
Still doing it. Virtual
And still doing
families
it, but
are
just
still picking up on Monday
giving
nights.
and making sure our kids are getting fed. It's amazing. So Shirley, kudos to you.
Thank you.
We will continue to work on that. I promise you, my people do not like to throw away sticks.
I want to try the cauliflower rice. By the way.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Shirley. Appreciate it. All right, we do need a.
I move we approve the food service program review as presented.
Second. One of us seconds it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, ladies, again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. 7.01, alternative education. Marita, this is one that you asked to be on the agenda, so I'll let you, if you have any kind of preamble or.
Yeah, I asked that this be brought up because I think it's important that all of our building administrators, if you recall, what was it, about 2 years ago or something
2
like
years
that?
ago.
We had this meeting, and it was very clear to us that they were very concerned about at-risk kids, how it was affecting their classes and so on like that. And so I wanted to keep on top of this because I want the public to know we are going in this direction, and I want the administrators to know that we listen to them. And so that's why I want to keep this, before us at all times.
And I appreciate that. And just so, I didn't put together a whole presentation or slide, but I have added specific notes. So it's kind of in twofold of what our Alternative Education Committee has done this year. The first part is the bridging the learning gap due to the pandemic. And all these updates, to your point, Dr. Malone, all these points have been updated not only with our success staff, but also all of our administrators. So they are well informed with exactly what's happening. And so we have kind of twofold things going on. One is our bridging that learning gap because of the pandemic, and you've seen all of that, so we don't have to go over all of it unless you want to, but there's a lot of things that Dr. Tormela's led our committee on making sure that everything from some elective credits going down for kids to make sure they graduate, to tutoring that is happening, to a full-fledged summer school program for remedial learning this summer. And so all those components are really focusing on student needs through the pandemic and into next year. Danielle, do you want to add anything to that?
We have students who are working right now on credit recovery outside the course of the normal school day, so they're working to recover credits. We are in complete planning mode for summer school, which will have opportunities for additional credit recovery and remediation options, including math and reading and writing for grades K through 8, and then credit recovery at the high school, and some options for additional just normal summer school types of options at the high school level. And those things are all in full swing. So that combined with the temporary reduction to graduation requirements are going to hopefully really help our students get caught back up.
Well, I'd like to just ask a couple of basic questions because, you know, there's really two things going on here. There's a recovery program for COVID, right? And then there is going to be the alternative school for at-risk students. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's the second update.
Okay. Okay, and on the first one, I'm just trying to understand how this works. So for the recovery program, do kids stay after school, or how does that work? Is it online or is it in person?
So the credit recovery program that we're offering right now, second semester for high school students only, is an online program. So we have 7 teachers, 2 English language arts teachers, 2 math teachers, 2 science teachers, and 1 social studies teacher who each have a caseload of students who are behind in credits, and they're working with them outside the normal school day to help them move forward with those classes. So we are using the Edmentum program, so it's an online program linked to our curriculum and our standards. The students are able to go in and pre-assess where they are on those standards. They work through them to proficiency, and then once they meet those standards, they're able to move on to other things within the course.
And so many of our students, though, they're failing because of the online component, and yet we're doing this online. I don't get it.
Well, right now, that's our only option second semester. During summer, we're going to be doing the same thing, but in person. So if we've sent out invitations to all of the students that are behind in credits, some of them aren't taking us up on that opportunity right now for a variety of reasons. So we'll come back around second or at the end of second semester as we're getting ready for summer, and the summer option will be in person. And with some of the additional funding that we're receiving through the CARES Act and things like that, we're actually going to be able to offer transportation as well, which is going to be a key component for students K through 12.
Okay, and the other thing is that if let's say a student gets an F in currently, okay, and he then gets a pass-fail in the recovery program, but the F doesn't go away. Did I read that correctly?
No, you read that correctly.
So how does that affect, so the grade point average is still going to be based on the F?
Correct. But they earn the credit, which is what they need for graduation.
Okay.
So this isn't about erasing a failed grade that's on the report card or the transcript. It's about them earning credit so they can graduate.
Okay, I think I understand that. And then, are you going to talk about the second
Yes,
part?
yeah.
Okay.
So-
Can I,
Okay.
can I ask, just make a comment that I'm happy, and I want the public to know that we are still not changing or allowing Fs or telling teachers to ignore Fs, or because you've seen these things on TV where they interview teachers who say, well, in my district, and it's not locally, I'm sorry, but I'm just looking at news stories, and where they're saying, well, we're being told to ignore Fs and things. But we're still expecting the best of our students. We're still holding high standards for our students. And so the F students are accountable for doing the work. I'm nodding and looking, so I'm on point here, right? And that our district expects the best of our students. We help them so they don't fail. And students who need the credit will be able to do the pass-fail if they have floundered because of the virtual, and they'll still get their credit and can move on. And yes, it may have impacted their grade point because the F will still be there, but they can still work hard to pull up their grade point as things improve.
And I think it's important to note too that this credit recovery program is one that's more self-driven and self-paced by the students. So they are able to test out of standards that they can show proficiency in, and they can move on to the others. So when we have a student repeat a class at school within their normal schedule and they complete the entire set of curriculum again, then that does give them a grade on the transcript. It never goes back and erases the F. The F is always there. But in that situation, they do earn a letter grade that then can impact their GPA. So that is a little difference in this credit recovery model because it's not sitting in that 60 hours of instruction for a half unit credit of credit for the graduation. So it is a slight difference in the amount of potential time and workload the student has to go through.
So a person would have on his or her transcript, for example, ancient civilization F, and then we'll see again ancient civilization passing.
Yes.
Okay.
If they truly do meet the criteria of the curriculum, yes.
We also have our elementary students coming this summer as well, to in-person learning as well, to bridge the gap of some of the learning gaps that we're seeing in our elementary kids as well. So that's kind of the now piece.
Mm-hmm.
The future piece, and you can see on the timeline, we're going to go pretty much as fast as we can. We have 16-member committee. We have 6 of our staff members over at the Success Campus that are on the committee, so we're getting a lot of good input from them. And I want to just state this for a second, that the Success Campus staff is phenomenal. They're doing a great job of working with our kids. So this is not about anything that the staff's doing wrong, but we are feeling at this point that the credit recovery program that is happening there is keeping us from really, from the staff to really be able to work with kids beyond just, hey, we got to get this recovery, and it's a little bit more of a rigid program. So what we're doing right now is we're focusing on researching, and we've had Wentzville in, Kirkwood in, we have Cape coming in, and then we got a 4th one coming in on the 30th, and I forgot who they are. We're still, go ahead. You're not supposed to talk, Brendan. No, I'm just kidding. Brendan, obviously our president of SCA, he's on the committee as well. So Jeff City, is that who we decided? So Jeff, okay. So, and you can tell people are fully engaged. So what we're doing right now is we're actively researching and getting presentations via Zoom of what programs are out there, because everybody's doing it a little bit differently. And so our thought process right now is we have a building, we have the Success building, we have, Brendan, how many kids are there AM and PM right now?
If I were to give a rough number, I think we're maybe a little under like 100 kids.
Okay.
I already guesstimate. I have about 30 kids.
Okay.
PM,
Okay, thank you. So, and we're not talking about necessarily getting rid of all those kids and then all of a sudden getting 200 more kids. There's a lot of kids over there that, because the philosophy is changing over the last 2 or 3 years, where it's not just, oh, you got to come over to credit recovery. You really need an alternative setting, and you really need a little extra help and a little bit, and we talk about trauma-informed and working with kids. So we have a lot of kids on there that will stay in the program. However, there are kids that really just need some extra time and some extra help to pass a course or to get that credit. And so we feel like, in theory right now, as we're looking at these presentations, is that some of that or all of that recovery work can go back to go back to high, go back to West with teacher help, and then that will free up even more spots to have more of a full day program for an alternative setting. And so right now we're working on what programs do we like out there that really fit the needs of our kids. And it's not just academic help and just, hey, I'm going to pass this class or this credit recovery. It's therapeutic. It's bringing in art lessons. It's bringing in Wentzville brings in some yoga and different things, and really working with these kids at every different level to help not only obviously their academic needs, but also their social and their mental needs as well. And so we're evolving the Success Campus. We feel like we need to look at our middle school piece as well, but right now we're focused on getting the high school set up. So our timeline is hopefully coming back to you all in October saying, here's what the program looks like, and then the scheduling starts happening, and then 22-23, we start the new program or the new philosophy at Success and move from there.
And
Question, how many extra Fs did we have at the high school level for the first semester? And in November, the teachers came to you and made recommendations. Why were none of those recommendations followed?
What recommendations are you talking about?
The shared leadership presentation.
Yeah, we did follow the recommendations. And we worked with them, and actually the leadership team, we met a couple different times, and the recommendation and what we felt like was good for everything is that they, again, when we share this all with you, they were able to, first of all, I don't know offhand the F's question, so that's something we can look up.
I'm going to see if I can look it up.
But
You said that you wouldn't dwell, in an email you said you wouldn't dwell on the reasons why.
I don't recall saying I wasn't going to dwell on anything, but what we decided to do and what we did to work with our teachers was, the specific issue was that they would like more time to work with their students. Right. And at that point, we didn't feel like we could make those changes at the high school level and not make changes at the elementary level with scheduling. And so what we came up with as a win-win for both is we said to them that through their 2-week span, and this was all given out to you all, but through a 2-week span, teachers were allowed to take a class within a 2-week span and spend extra time with kids and really hit those essential skills and don't feel like they have to be on a hard, fast pace if they wanted to. So we allowed, through the schedule, we heard their needs, and we said, okay, here's our schedule, here's what we can do to help them work with kids with needs. And so we worked with them hand in hand on that, and we got, actually, from the principals and from the committee, we got some really good feedback on how they're able to stop and be able to say, okay, here's a day, 80 minutes of review, work completion, and a little help for the teachers. And so we felt like we were able to do that without switching up the whole schedule in the middle of the year.
Well, that gives them
so that actually was addressed fully with the teachers.
Okay, that gives them one block every 12 weeks, you know.
They actually can do it as often as they want, but obviously the pacing has to continue as well. So the need was, how do we meet kids' needs now? And the thought was, within the schedule that we have now, how do we do that? And we think we came up with a pretty good solution. So that was actually addressed. And so this is now looking at what we're doing globally with kids at risk that we feel like maybe need to be pulled out into an alternative setting. And the philosophies are, and they're different around the different districts, but it's not necessarily going to be, hey, we're going to have 100, 200 kids that are plucked out of their school and they're just going to be at the Success Campus from now on for 4 years. There's a lot of different adaptations to the programs where kids are free-flowing and coming over as needed and different things. So we're really looking at, our eyes are really open to what the needs are right now for kids in alternative education. So we're excited about the committee, we're excited about moving forward, and it's going to be neat to see how this this kind of progresses in the next year or so.
Doctor, can you explain to me, one of the things that came out in that meeting with all the administrators, there were kids that are just extremely disruptive in class, which keeps the teachers from teaching the rest of the class. Are they considered at risk?
Yeah, they certainly can be. And so it will become those students who are, that maybe have the behavior issues or the issues of disrupting a classroom, that will be part of the solution. That will be part of the program of not how they fit or how can we help them in these settings. Yeah. This is not necessarily let's go grab every kid that is disruptive and bring them over to the Success Campus. In fact, Success has a lot of those students now. Mm-hmm. And how are we meeting their needs where they're at? So we have other, we're focused on Success right now, but we have other programs. We have the Triumph Academy over at West that is a district program, but that's attached to an IEP for a student. So there are a lot of components that we have. We have the Compass program at St. Charles High. There's other things that we're looking at to help kids with behavior needs, but certainly that will be a part of it. Mm-hmm. But this is not going to be a situation where, we grab all the, you're unruly, you're sticking over, you come over here. That's not that philosophy, but it's going to be more of, hey, it's not, we're going to try to, you're struggling, so now we're going to try to fit you in this credit recovery program. Now it's going to be, hey, here's all of our avenues. We've opened up our programming. How do we now meet your needs through our program? And so our program's evolving.
Mm-hmm. The districts that you're looking at, like Jeff City and some of these others that you've already looked at, their alternative program is not like a Hope High School where kids graduate.
Yeah, they're all different.
Oh, so we're looking at all kinds.
We're seeing all different. So the Hope High School is a Fort Zumwalt program, and I don't want to be careful talking about other districts, but that is a very traditional.
I couldn't think of that.
But the Hope High is pretty traditional, and that's its own high school, and the kids are there. But even that program, every program has, kind of back to your point of kids that have needs. Each program has a process of saying, okay, the kids' needs are this. This is what we can do for him. Here is and a process of making sure that it's a right fit for that child within whatever we program have. And most of these schools, within a building, there are 1 or 2 or 3 different programs to meet their needs. And what we're finding is we have some of those components are there. We have Missouri Options already in the program. We already have our our drug treatment program that we have already in the program. What we need to look at is this credit recovery that we're doing. That is keeping us just too rigid to, oh my gosh, we got to have kids pass, and we're going to get beyond that to really meet their needs. And so to answer your question, there are different programs within each school district within a building, and they're all doing it a little bit differently. That's why we're spending some time right now.
Looking at all the options.
Really looking at all the options.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't want to speak for our committee, but I don't think we're going to be a standalone program where student A comes with some freshmen and they never leave. They might stay with us, but our thought with our RTI process is how do we meet kids' needs, and it's least restrictive. We would like for them to be back in the classroom, back in the high school as much as possible.
And graduate from
and
that
so
high school.
Exactly. And so what does that look like? But also, there will always be a place. And we have a lot of our students, our high needs students are already at Success. They're just in a rigid program right now with a credit recovery. So we're trying to evolve that program.
And we have seen the success of students who seem to be disruptive just simply because that kind of the setting at the high schools just didn't fit. But when they had the more individualized attention or the Success smaller classroom options, and that's why when we used to go to those graduations at Success, it's just a wonderful thing because those kids just smile and say, wow, I've grown up. I've gotten the attention I needed and the help I needed or whatever it was for their need. So I like the idea of, it's not just, as you said, well, we're going to start pulling people out, but it's not that. It's just what that kid needs. You're going to look at all these options.
Right. And there's a lot of process to it. We have a great committee. We have a lot of the Success staff that have come onto the committee as well. And And I know it seems like, oh, we're meeting, we're committing, and it's a lot of meeting, but we are really looking at the process and saying, okay, what is best for our kids here in the City of St. Charles School District? What program is going to be the best thing to meet their needs?
But this lets us know, as Marita said, that it's still on our view. I mean, it's not been forgotten, it's not being tabled.
No, and I think what this does is it lets the public, you guys see this, because this is on our weekly board update almost every week, and our administrators know it, and our staff know it. This committee's meeting, we meet almost every other week, and the reason why it's every other week is because we're planning for the next presentation or the next step, and so we're meeting, and again, our goal, it's a pretty lofty goal, is to come back in October-ish with you to say, okay, here's what it looks like to start scheduling for next year, so the following year. So, no, this is something that I know that is very important to you all. It's very important to me. We got slowed a little bit with the pandemic, and then also with the needs of the students that we're doing now, and that's what we're trying to make sure that they're meeting the needs now and meeting our staff needs now. But that's not an excuse. We're moving forward. We got a committee that we think we can put together a pretty good program for our kids, and so it's a process.
The problem with credit recovery is that you have to fail first, you know, and that, if we
Well,
could
and
move
to that
on-
point,
Yeah, if we could move on by predicting what kids are going to need help.
well,
you know,
to that
so,
point,
yeah.
there's still going to be needs for some credit recovery, right?
Oh,
And there's-
yeah.
But to that point, Ellen, we feel like the Success Campus is a natural place to start, but I would like to see us very quickly as we get this together, and this is a lot of work, guys. This is not easy to change a whole program with everything else we got going on, but we're going to do it. But to your point, we really got to look at that middle school level too, and what we're doing there with this programming as well, and we think we can add that pretty quickly. So,
Well, you can predict the low reading
Right.
ability
right.
kids are
And
going
there
to struggle in
some of
high
our
school.
students who struggle behaviorally or with engagement, let's face it, they might not be with us right now. They might be virtually. I'm not saying that, I don't mean that, but they might still be at home, and some of them might have dropped out for a while, and they might be back, which is great. We got to be ready for them. So I guarantee you this is something that is high. I mean, this is one of our top priorities at this point.
Thank you.
So going back to your question, I don't have it in the specific number of Fs, but what I have are the percentages of students with 2 or more Fs at the end of first semester, right? And so what we saw was that was about double what it was compared to the year before. And where we see the increase is with virtual kids, and specifically freshman virtual kids, which in that kind of makes sense. But that's where there is a discrepancy.
And real quick, I know we need to get going, but to Ellen, to your point, I just wanted to clarify, because it's very important to me, because I really worked hard with the shared leadership team on this. The need that we heard from the teachers is they needed more time with students, and we heard that. They need more time. They need more time for task completion. The teachers needed some more time with some things, and so did the students. And we did not feel like we could change the schedule to give them a full day of not. Basically, one of the things that they were really wanting, it was a full day of really no instruction at all, in terms of basically office time, and we just felt like we couldn't. There was just too much time and too many things that we needed to do, and then structurally with all of our other students that we could go to that length. And so what we did was, what could we do? What can we do? And we felt like our teachers they're going to go 100% all the time, and they're going to try to meet everything. And it's like, no, we can slow down. We can do essential learning here. That's what we want to do. And we can give them time within their schedule, and that's what we've done. So I feel really good. It's not exactly what they wanted, but we really worked hard to listen to them and come up with a plan. And I'm kind of surprised it's brought up again, because I followed up with them 2 or 3 times with the leaders of that, and we really felt good moving forward with what we came up with. So.
Okay.
It was, and we listened to them fully, I can guarantee you that, so.
All right, so Leslie is patiently waiting. That was a discussion, we didn't have a vote. 7.02 is activity bus discussion. Leslie, I'll let you bring it up, and then you can.
Right. I'm sorry, I have an appointment I need to get to. But So this was, I just wanted to put this on the agenda for the same reason probably Marita wanted to put the alternative education on the agenda. You know, it's been brought to my attention that some of our coaches are, you know, having to pick kids up and drop them off. And so it became, hey, what about an activity bus? Well, I know how, I don't know if that's doable. I don't know. So my whole reason to bring it to the board is to bring it to you and say, is this doable? Is this something you can look at with transportation, you know, with scheduling? I know it's difficult. I know with 7th and 8th grade being in, you know, a lot of those kids, like if you live in St. Charles Hills and you want to do the running club at Hardin, that's a long way to walk home, right? So, you know, and parents with working, and I want the coaches to know we hear them, we see them, and we'll take a look at it. That's the only,
Okay.
I really don't even need discussion on it.
Okay.
So,
Duly noted.
thank you. I appreciate that.
With that being said, though, I want to give anybody the chance to comment, any board member that has a thought.
When I was teaching, I sponsored the science club, and after the activity bus got eliminated, I saw a definite decline in my numbers. I don't know that that was the reason, but, you know, and I don't think there is a science club at St. Charles High anymore. But
Is this an activity bus strictly for after-school events? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
to give them
And-
rides home.
Yeah, there's several, you know, there's several districts in the region that have them.
We used
As
to
a matter of
have
fact, I was at work one day, and somebody said to me, I was just part of a conversation, it wasn't directed at me, but they were talking about, they had young kids. Well, don't they take the activity bus? And, you know, the person who lives in St. Charles is like, we don't have activity buses. It's like, well, how do you do all this then? You know, and so, you know, it's one of those things, it got brought to my attention because one of our football coaches at St. Charles High on a Saturday, really, he went house to house picking up kids to come to practice on that Saturday. And I think it's great coaches are willing to do that. So I think it would be great if we'd be willing to at least consider the ability to do this. So that's it.
Well, we support our coaches and our activities and our clubs. We support them 100%. We certainly could. Did you want to add anything to that? Because that is pretty much in your wheelhouse. But
I think my understanding of history is that once upon a time we did do those, which
Yes.
I don't remember as a teacher, but we eliminated activity buses when we were contracting budget-wise, and so they've just never been added back in. From a funding standpoint, I can tell you that the state reimburses about 20% of our cost for route miles, but activity buses would not be considered route miles, so it would all be a local expense if we did decide to do that. And believe it or not, some people, I won't be able to tell if your mouth is agape because you're all wearing your masks, but it costs us about $4.60 a mile to run our buses, all included. Cost of the bus, cost of
I believe
fuel
that.
and drivers. So
Why
that would be the hurdle to overcome. Is
Why
if
don't
we
the
wanted-
booster clubs get together and do something about it?
I don't think the booster clubs have very much money these days.
Yeah, I don't think they could.
there's not a whole lot of
I don't.
revenue
No,
coming
there's
in
not.
right now, and they spend all their money
I
on
think the booster clubs are
enhancing
really-
their
Yeah.
programs as they
And
have.
you know, they used to make money on working
08
days
and
and stuff,
09.
but now they pay teachers.
I know, I was here.
So,
We did.
Well, and we,
And we had them at all the, I mean, we had them at Jefferson, we had activity buses, 1 hour after school. But you're right, you just see a
well,
few
and that
kids.
may be the case. I mean, that could be very well what, when you look at it, you come to is like, kids aren't going to use it.
Right.
I mean, and I don't know
And
if
that's
they
the
will
pro-
or not.
Even running routes, we have kids who can ride the bus, and we have to keep doing our bus routes, but
Right.
a lot of rideability, we don't have some kids riding buses either.
Yeah,
So-
we can certainly look at it. The question, the difficulty, I think, is in getting any accurate estimate other than just this is what it would cost us a mile, so estimating a bus at a time. But unless we knew accurately how many would actually ride, it's kind of a guess. My intuition would tell me that our need would peak at middle school, because if you look at our middle level buildings, we run 18 routes out of Jefferson and Hardin each day, both schools. Same size building, St. Charles High, we have 6 routes, and St. Charles West, we have 5. And so those kids are all finding their way home other ways. And so I would guess that our need would not be as much at the high school as it might be at that middle level.
And
I'm just thinking, if this were my organization and I was running it, I think my first conversation might be like looking at like, you know, like,
Right.
do you really, I mean, because just because a coach sees a need doesn't mean there's a need.
Right.
So if I'm doing this, I would probably start with my APs and just even find out.
no, I agree. And so the initial thought was, can we just have a conversation, look into it? Yes, we can. I saw the same tweet you did. I know the coach very well. And I'm not downplaying it all, but there's a little bit difference between, I'm going to try to get kids together on a Saturday that it's out of the season versus regular season as well. So yes, we can look into it. We have a pretty good idea of financially what that's going to do. We have some history behind it, and as you guys know, I love our athletics and our clubs, and I'm almost at everything week. So I have good relationships with our coaches. So we'll certainly have conversations with our ADs and see. So because I know you got to get on to an appointment. So so sorry.
Oh,
you,
hey,
Leslie.
you got to stay and listen to Charles.
Speaking of funding, Charles, how are the finances doing?
So I'm going to speak a sentence to you that I truly didn't think I would ever say again after probably about 1998. Right now, the state of Missouri is flush with cash. However, it's all federal dollars that have been sent either as the last batch of COVID pandemic money, or is anticipated in this latest big tranche that the president has just signed yesterday or today. So I actually heard a presentation from Jim Moody, who some of us seasoned veterans might remember worked for Governor Ashcroft way back in the 1980s, and he's been a creature of Jefferson City ever since, watching state government. And he is almost universally negative about state finances. And today he said, this year and next, the state's actually got money. Beyond that, it's going to depend on, obviously, what the economy does, what the federal government does, because the state can't print money like the feds can. The feds are sending all this money. They don't have it. They're just leveraging our grandchildren and great-grandchildren's futures to send it to the states. But right now, the state would typically, during this season of tax refunds, would have somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe $200 million in reserve, which sounds like a lot, but is not for the state of Missouri, and would be considering what they could delay to make sure that they sent refunds out on time, that type of thing. Right now, the state has almost $2 billion in reserve. So a big, big amount of money, with more expected. So as far as challenges, the challenge is what do they do with it? Because obviously they're going to have a similar philosophy to what probably we have around here, which is typically with one-time money, you don't want to sow it on ongoing expenses. So what do they do with it? We don't really know for sure with their portion. Some of what they're holding will eventually go to counties and municipalities and school districts. We're still waiting on some final guidance on how we can use it. But as Danielle alluded to a bit earlier, we're going to prioritize our ESSER 2 money, which is one big chunk of it, for providing summer school this summer and next. So we'll kind of see what it costs us to run it this year. And the money can be drawn down through fall of 2023. So we'll just not draw any more until after we find out what summer school costs us. There is going to be some more in this latest bill that the president signed. However, we don't know how we'll be able to use it or what the state or the feds kind of will restrict us on. So
Charles, do we
yes.
know, what are the states of the state House, or state Senate Bill 55,
Yeah.
and then the
So
the
that's
House bill?
interesting. So
Good question.
the legislature continues to inflict themselves upon us, and that did go out over the internet to anybody who cares to hear it. That's my opinion, not the opinion of the school board. So the Senate Bill 55 is still on the informal calendar in the Senate, meaning they don't have enough votes to pass it.
It's the opinion of the superintendent too, Dr.
My lobbyist friends from the School Administrators Coalition say it's probably a 17-17 tie at this point, with lots of horse trading and arm twisting going on to try and get that thing resurrected. But it has stalled for a second week in a row. House Bill 543, which is one we told you about really early on open enrollment, has passed the House. They changed a little bit about, in it to make it a little more palatable, and so it is on its way to the Senate. I don't know whether we'll be able to stop it there, but because it's moving fast, and both chambers have some real interests in passing something that they can say is education reform. Our biggest concern in that bill is that it transfers students. It does not now transfer money, but attempts to set up a state fund that would help fund high-need students who transfer, but it would not still cover the cost, and doesn't really clearly indicate whether, a student whose IEP was written by us, is that enforceable in another district? Do they get to start over? There are a lot of unanswered questions for those students who are high-cost folks. Another bill that you've seen probably a couple of articles about lately that our own Senator Eigel is sponsor of, was a bill to phase out personal property tax. That's a really easy goal for the state because they get virtually no personal property tax. The fiscal note on it says that over time and implementation it would cost local governments $1.4 billion. About 80% of that would be school districts because that's who gets personal property tax. So for us, that would be about a, it's $150 million of our $1.1 billion assessed value. So about 10% of our money comes from, of our local money comes from personal property tax. If somebody comes and tells me today I don't have to pay personal property tax on my car, I'm going to be excited about it. But from this chair, I've got to tell you that's a really bad idea for public schools when no one is proposing anything other than giving people time to get used to less money. That's the answer that we were hearing. So hopefully that remains dead. It died in the Senate earlier in the week. They're still trying to revive it. And then Rodney mentioned the unemployment issue earlier this evening informally. We do see that we're not only is he winning appeals on actual cases, but legislatively the House has passed a correction so that the state would not continue to try and collect that money. While those negotiations are going on, the state Department of Labor has directed Employment Security to stop collection efforts. So we have received some relief. And then as Rodney continues to win actual appeals, we'll eventually get out of that one too, I think. So that's definitely a mixed bag. There are a lot of people trying to mess us up legislatively in Jeff City right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's important. And again, I won't speak for the whole board, but from one person's point of view, it's important that we all understand what's going on because the Missouri legislature is not public education friendly right now.
It's just not. And, we've talked about the perils of trying to have open enrollment between our elementary schools or between our two high schools. If you think that would cause an issue, you think if there's open enrollment district to district across the state, and you're sitting in the Normandy School District, which I drive through every day on my way here, so I can tell you it's about 5.5 miles from here. That's not very far a distance if you wanted to transfer your kid someplace else. And so you start emptying districts that are having struggles, whatever they're perceived to be, and filling districts that are not. And that could be a really devastating effect on our state and the way we operate. So definitely worth some calls to your legislators to see what happens. Anything else on that from anyone legislatively?
No, thank you.
All right, then.
Can I say this too, that the correspondence is at zero? Like, you don't hear
Yep.
anything back from our-
Nothing.
you've sent
I got
emails.
a form letter from the governor, just saying
I haven't-
somebody from my office read your letter, and that's all I got.
I've sent certain correspondence and haven't heard a thing.
So the other funding issue that Shirley alluded to is, our free and reduced rate is down 10%, which, is not necessarily a bad thing if that's accurate, but we don't think it's accurate. And if that were to persist, we get about 400 pupils in weighted average daily attendance based on a higher than average free and reduced lunch rate. If we were to lose that, that equates to about $720,000 in revenue. Now, luckily, that doesn't affect this year or next, but if that persists another year or so, it could begin to affect us in the formula calculation.
Well, and I don't know if you saw me on my phone texting furiously, because when I saw that statistic, that made me think of federal funding and
Yep.
title funds.
Federal funds would be
When I
impacted
point,
as
the
well.
statistic that Shirley showed, that we have 29% free and reduced lunch this year. Last year it was 39. Before that it's been 42 and 44.
Makes a big difference.
So I was immediately saying, oh my goodness, we need to get ahead of this. How is that going to impact our federal funding? Because that's a big deal for everything we do. So if you saw me on this, it wasn't because I was doing anything personal. It was actually work-related with me having a slight freak-out moment over here quietly by myself.
And that is a more immediate impact. That could impact us next year. So, yes, ma'am. I can help. Now, I'm going to give you some, hopefully some better information in the actual report. The Healthcare Trust is running just fine. We're experiencing no unusual activity there. Chris, if you move to that next page, you'll see, can you forward me one? That's all right. Move me one page down, please. You'll see we did receive a bit of county revenue last month. That's the state assessed railroads and utilities. That was right on what we budgeted. And then the other item I circled there in Fund 3, we made a bond payment, which is typical for us to make that ahead of March 1st every year. And with absent that bond payment, we would have actually been about even for the month. But again, like I said, that's the normal cycle of when that payment comes due. And then, so for the year end, the next page, nothing really unusual there. We're holding at an ending fund balance of $50.7 million. 47.5 of that's unrestricted. The rest is in the self-insurance fund. And then finally, the budget adjustment report, we did move a little bit of money around a bit. And so you see we're still hovering around a 23% projected ending balance for the year. Questions?
Second. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'm a little sad, Charles, it's my last financial report.
You know, you can always come to the meetings. I offered that to, I told that to Mr. Hallemeyer when he left the board, and I think he came once. But he did not stay for the financial report.
That's right.
And now that we're live streamed, you could watch us every month, Josh.
That's true.
I bet you will.
All right, I do need a motion to adjourn. Can I say one?
One, Josh, are you in suture?
Darn it.
Oh, sorry. That's what I'm going to announce. I appreciate
He's not got a mic, so announce it.
it. We have a second state champion, Trey Ward from St. Charles High tonight. So.
All right. Excellent.
Good.
With that, can we get a Go Pirates adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great night, have a great week, and a great month.
Thank you, everybody.
I ask this every time, how do I close this damn thing? What do you click at the bottom to close it out? What is it I click at the bottom to close it out?
What do you do at the bottom? I just shut it. Turns off.
No,